Hello, welcome along everyone. This is Chad. Remember Chad? You probably recognise him. He's a superstar international road tester. Sir Chad, as he's now known.
Sir Chad, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Now, Chad, you've somehow managed to blag the only UK spot on the launch of one of the most gorgeous, fastest, lightest, everythingest bikes in the planet, the Superleggera V4.
Yeah, I think I managed to blag that by being the only journalist who's never driven a golf buggy into a swimming pool. So I think they went through the list and went, right, who's the most well-behaved person on our launches? Who's the one we can trust? Has he ever crashed a Ducati for us? No. Mugello, Superleggera.
Doesn't get any better than that, does it, really?
No, and just us. Nobody else there, obviously due to the COVID situation. So there was 2 bikes, 5 or maybe 6 journalists in total.
That was it?
And just to really put a little, just to really stab you with this one, because I've not been to Mugello for a while, which is what I said, they wheeled out a Panigale R for me to warm up on. I was like, oh really? And I was like, well, I could get used to this, because we had the new Pirelli slicks, which is like the 125 front and the 65 rear.
Yeah.
So we had a Panigale R on slicks to practice before going to the Superleggera. So not a shit day, no, really. Pretty, unique and pretty special.
So the eagle-eyed amongst you would go, that's not a Superleggera. Well, yeah, this is one of the most exclusive bikes in the world, isn't it? Well,
it's 500 worldwide.
Yeah.
I think there's only, as we stand today, there's only one bike, I think, in the UK.
We've both ridden both of the previous Superleggeras.
Yeah.
And they feel special. They are utterly bonkers. And especially the 1299, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think though, what they've done now though, that it sounds phenomenal, but they've stepped that up. Like we had like the technical briefing, and then they're saying, oh, we saved 16 kilograms on a Panigale. And you go, if me and you needed to lose weight and we lost 5 kilograms, that's not that difficult because we're carrying some timber. But if you're losing 16 kilograms on a bike that is already being designed to be a super bike, then you go, what? Do you know what I mean? And then they go, oh yeah, it's 234 horsepower with the race exhaust. And then I spoke to Chaz Davis at Ducati, because they were testing at Imola. Sorry. But the Superleggera is lighter than his superbike.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense with all the carbon on there.
But it's like, I think his minimum weight, I think 165 or 167.
Yeah.
And with the race kit, which we had, which is no number plate, is 152. So it's 152.2 or 0.4. So you've got 152 kilograms. So you're way lighter than a World Superbike or a BSB bike. I think you're lighter than MotoGP at that. And then you've got 234, 235 horsepower, they quote. Yeah. Which is about 10 less than a World Superbike. Mm. Yet you can ride out Mugello, go for a coffee. And the service intervals are 7,000, same. And it revs to 16,000 RPM in fifth, but 16,506.
Okay.
So 16,500. I mean, I'm old, and I remember like ZXR 400s and FZR 250s, and you were like 16,000 RPM, but a 1,000cc bike rev to like 8,000 or 9,000. Like when we were riding Fireblaze and G6R1000, you're like revs to 10,000. Can you remember that? And you were like, it can't rev anymore; it'll just explode. And now it's 16,500 RPM.
Am I right in thinking or assuming that this is a smoother version of the previous Superleggeras? As obviously the Panigales have got smoother with the V4.
Yeah, it is usable, because like you're gonna have to do another drop here.
Oh, go on.
So I rode the World Superbike Ducati of Chaz's. And that, I congratulated him, because I thought that was unrideable. I mean, I'm obviously riding it 20 seconds, 30 seconds a lap slower and in a different gear. And But the thing was just vicious. And it was at Imola, the thing was bucking, and I was wheelbarrowing. And I just came in and I was like,
yeah, mate, have it.
I was like, how the fuck do you ride that? Do you know what I mean? And he was like, well, and obviously it's set for him, and I'm not a racer, and I'm carrying timber, but it would just smack, power, smack, brakes. And when I got to Mugello, I knew I was going to ride it, and they were like, right, 234 horsepower, you got the full race kit, you got slicks, you got nobody else on track, you got a straight that's over a kilometre, it's absolutely flat at Mugello. And I was like, ooh, And they were like, do you want it in A mode or B mode? Which are the new modes for the Superleggera.
Yeah. Okay.
So
really? That's it. That's it. Just
no. It's got all the other modes
Okay.
as well. But on track, you have an A and a B mode and a sport mode. So on track, you have a new dash as well that is the MotoGP style dash.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you'll see on the onboards. So in B mode, it's like the Street Fighter in that you get limited torque in the first two gears.
Right.
And then in A mode, you just get full fat.
Right.
And they were like, which do you want? I was like, B mode. do you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't want to go out in A mode. And it's, as I say, it's usable. Do you know what I mean? But it was weird because the first couple of laps, I was like, I think the first lap, I was like, it's not that quick. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a Mugello.
Deceptively quick though.
It's deceptively quick. Mugello, there's only first gear to leave pit lane and then you're in second.
Yeah.
And it doesn't undulate. It's not like Alton or Cadwell or Portimao. You know, it's all flat, innit?
Portimao.
But it's just all...
Gravy.
Oh, don't get me going with the gravy. But it's just, you know... But then, I think it was like the second lap, got on the straight, tucked in, and then the gear shift lights illuminated, and I was like, oh yeah. Because I've been changing at 14,000 RPM.
Right.
Because you see the revs, and you're like,
Yeah.
and you throw another gear.
You got another two
But I
there.
was like, I'm not really, oh, you knob. Do you know what I mean? And I'd gone down the straight first lap and gone over the rise. You know, you got to
Yeah.
And I've done a bit of a over the rise. And then, like, as I say, second lap, I got on the straight and I was like, what? And the shift lights come on. I was like, oh, I thought I was using it. And I wasn't. Because you ride it, like, you know, historically when you ride a Ducati, you go, bop, bop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where this is not, just rev it. And you're riding between like 11 and 15,000. You know, which sounds, you know, and you're like, oh dear, this is 100 grand. Do you know what I mean? I'm thrashing the knackers off it and it's flying, but it's stable, it's planted, it's not doing anything untoward. And even though like we all knew the horsepower was going to be epic, it was the way it turned and the way it stopped and the way it handled.
Yeah.
You could have knocked 20 horsepower off it and you'd have still walked away going,
Yeah. I was going to say, because that was one of the things that really struck me with the previous Superleggeras, was that they're so light and you think, that's got to be unrideable. And yet, especially the 1299, it was so planted.
Yeah.
You had so much grip. And I think a lot of that was nice suspension and it's not. But I guess it's the same for the Panigale.
For the Superleggera, I mean, everybody was saying, oh, it's the wings. The wings cause, you know, the huge wings cause the downforce, which causes the stability. But it's not just the wings, you know, the wheelbase is longer, the chassis and the swinging arm is more flex in it now. Now it's carbon, so it gives you more feel. The electronics are superb. Do you know, it's...
Everything's a step up.
Yeah. If you put giant wings on a shit handling bike, it's not going to cure it.
No.
It's not like putting makeup on and going, she's a looker now. Do you know what I mean? You can't fix it just by shoving wings on it. It's got, everything has got to work with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the wings they were based on the GP bike from 2016. Because then they didn't have any rules or regulations. So the downforce of the road bike is more than the MotoGP bike and more than the World Superbike, because they were only allowed wings of a certain size.
I was going to say, because they do look, I mean, plenty of people, the internet is full of, oh, that looks shit, mate. But they are there to serve a purpose. Yeah,
without question. I mean, it was weird because I think like the figures, I think it was like 60 kilograms of downforce at 300 kilometers an hour, which is Danny Pedrosa in a set of leathers.
Yeah.
Holding onto your front end. I mean, why is it not wheeling? It's because you've got ET sat on the front. It's not going to wheelie, is it, with 60 kilograms on the front? And you've got that colossal amount of downforce, but you can't feel it. You don't.
No.
You don't
it's
go.
not that you go, oh my God, it's stuck. I can't-
Yeah, it's not like some Jedi mind game where you can feel the force.
It's an intuitive kind of
It's just
sensation.
Yeah. And then, as I say, at Mugello, you're absolutely, you're like 290, 300 kilometers ish, end of the straight, and some bikes would be waving, and you're just like bark.
Yeah.
And it don't feel like you're going that speed. It feels like you're going fast, obviously, but even the bodywork, the shape, and you're all tucked in. You're not. You ride some bikes with 170, 180 horsepower, and they're wheeling in, and they're vicious on the throttle, and you come back in, and you look at your time, you're like, fucking Mr. Big Nuts here. Do you know what I mean? Check those lap times, and you're shit.
Yeah.
Where,
like a lot of Ducatis have been in previous years.
Yeah. Ducatis have been notoriously hard to ride.
You think you're doing a lap record?
I said to the guys, I don't think they'll let me, but I'd really like to ride it at an undulating track.
Yeah. A Portimao.
But if we could go, maybe not Ulton, because you've got to remember the wings. A lot of people think the wings work straight away, but obviously they're like, that was my watch telling me.
Okay?
Yeah, telling me I need to exercise, I'm too fat. It does it a lot. But the wings don't work, really below 60, 70 miles an hour.
No.
And Mugello is all, you don't even use first. It's second.
No, you don't. It's second gear.
It's all.
Most of it's third and fourth, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, for you it might be. It's fourth and fifth for me. But I'd like to try it at a track where you could, like almost take the wings off, put them on.
Yeah.
Or a back-to-back one without wings. I spoke to the engineers at real length, and if you can imagine where the wings are on the bike, everybody thinks that just goes through the front wheel spindle and it pulls on the forks, but the majority of it is actually underslung more where the belly pan. That's where the downforce is created.
Right. Okay.
So it's not just creating downforce to stop you wheeling. It's creating stability when you're at high speed.
So suction.
Yeah. But also when you hit the brakes.
Yeah.
So, Mugello, you're braking from 170, 180-ish, aren't you? Down to second.
Well, I'm doing 190, but yeah.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But it's actually the percentage of those wings of that downforce is actually transmitted to the rear.
Okay.
So it's stopping that.
Yeah.
And it's stopping it sliding, and it's really, really interesting when you chat to the engineers where I thought it was like, they're like 50 kilograms or 60 kilograms of downforce at this. It's like, right, there's a big fat Labrador sat on the front mudguard. Do you know what I mean? Dosh. But it's not. It's more towards the belly pan and more the central area of the bike. But as I said, when I came into the pits and the guys were like, what's it like? And first impressions, I was like, it's not just the power. It's, like the way it turns, its agility, its handling, the brakes.
Yeah.
You're just like, because it's got ABS and cornering ABS. And, the days of when we go, oh, the ABS was intrusive, I can beat bollocks. If you'd have given me a test, has that got ABS or not, I wouldn't have known, because I never felt.
So is that ABS slightly different to the Panigale V4?
All the electronics have been changed for the Superleggera just because of the electronics wouldn't work. Because
it's lighter, much lighter.
And it accelerates faster.
And
so they had to recalibrate the whole electronic. The whole package is completely different. And then at Mugello, when you've got the GP dash, it knows you're at Mugello because there's pre-programmable tracks that you can put in. Probably ain't got Cadwell and Oliver's Mount, but they've got, Mugello, Silverstone, and
Portimao.
And then you've got your little split.
Have you?
Yeah.
So it's a constant
it's an arcade game. Because if so you come out and it'll do. I think there were 3 sectors at Mugello, so you get a little flashing light going. You're on it, and you're like, So it's encouraging you to go faster all the time. And it's just, but it's not just the wings and it's not just the power. It's this combination of everything. And as I said, when we spoke to the guys at Ducati, because Superbikes, as in World Superbikes, haven't been to Mugello for a while, they did it with the Italian Superbikes, and they were lapping, I can't remember the lap time off the top of my head, it was around about 2 minutes for a lap. Yeah. And the test rider on the Superleggera with the race kit, so with the mirrors removed, was like 2.2 or 2.3 seconds slower.
Okay.
And that was with standard pads, standard gearing. It's like, you've raced, you change the gearing, change the pads, get the bike set up, you'll lose another second there. So you've got a road bike that's capable of qualifying for World Superbikes. Yeah. or well, Italian superbikes. But
And that's why it costs £94,000 or whatever.
it's 100,000 euros. It's
Yeah.
90,000 in the UK.
Yeah.
But if you use man maths, it's an investment.
Yeah.
So you're not actually spending the kid's inheritance, and it's justifiable to
Unless you throw
remote-
it down the road and into a fireball. But
Yeah. I mean, that was what it wasn't a problem at Mugello, but I was aware. Like, I got on the bike and I was the second person outside Ducati to get on it, and I had like Dominicali and all the top brass were waiting for their go. And the last thing you want to do is come back with a couple of carrier bags going, I really like it.
It's even lighter now, mate.
I liked it. These controls will fall easy to your hands. Here you go, Chief. Hire car.
Ciao ragazzi.
Yeah, I'm off to Portimao. So you are aware that you don't want to smash
Yeah.
it. Do you know what I mean? And so you're not like full race pace. You know, you're not
Yeah.
on the pipe.
But it does feel special, though. It does feel it's a
Yeah.
very, like I said, the other Superleggeras have felt special. The paint, the touches, and riding it. So everything, it just feels just premium. Isn't it? Ducatis feel premium anyway, but this is another level, and that's why they cost the money.
It makes you feel like a factory rider.
Yeah.
Because even like we had like it wasn't the usual glamour of a launch where you know fine wine, fine dining. It was like get to Mugello, get there, open your garage. There was a bike on paddock stands, tyre warmers and a rug. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. But as soon as they pull up that garage door and you go, you know what I mean? You get that
Boner.
Yeah. And even like, I mean, I've done this job for far too long, and like last lap, you get given the flag last lap, and you're like, fucking hell. Do you know what I mean? This is just, and I was just on the cool down lap, just going, oh, do you know what? It was I'm in Mugello, I'm riding a Superleggera. This is just special. And how do you put a value on that feeling that I'll talk about for another 10, 15, 20 years? When you go through your history of what you did as a journalist, this is one of those boxes where you'll go, do you remember that time I was doing 2-minute laps around Mugello when bikes ran on petrol? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what it does, it makes you feel special. And, like Ducati know this, and that's why when people are buying the bike, they get the bike and then they're getting an experience.
Yeah.
So when you buy the bike, you also get the opportunity to ride, to go to the Ducati race school, but you also get to ride the World Superbike. So that's part of your package.
Yeah.
So you put 90 grand down, or 100,000 euros, you buy the bike, and then you get a phone call in 8 weeks, and you go to Mugello, and they wheel out the World Superbike. And you get a couple of laps on that as well. And if you're paying more, you can get to ride the MotoGP bike. If you fit it. So you're...
Yeah, I'm fucked.
I didn't want to say how, but I can do that one for you.
But we've actually been in contact with the Superleggera owner in the UK, and hopefully we are going to ride it soon. But I will say, I mean, this has been a 20-odd minutes of absolute gold, Chad. So I hope you guys at home have got some idea of what it's like to ride a Superleggera, and it sounds special, and it is special.
It is, mate, it is.
And thank you, Chad. Thank you for your time. And
no worries.
Yeah.
When you get it on the road, just give me a shout, because you might not fit on it. Well, maybe not. The thing is, on the road, though...
Can you even touch the floor?
I did struggle a bit. you know when you come in and you're like, oh, you get that wobble, because they even like did when they push you out of pit lane, and normally when you're on a race bike, you're like, oh shit, steering lock, you know what I mean? Don't drop it. But yeah, I mean, it's just a special bike. But it'd be interesting if you ride it on the road.
Yeah.
Because in theory, the wings don't work below 70, 80 miles an hour, so you'll have to take it to Isle of Man or Nürburgring or wherever. Yeah. But just to have it, I can see why people buy it and just have it instead of a TV.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2.
2, 3. Is your mic on?
Yeah, hang on.
You switched it on. I'm not used to dealing with amateurs like this.